Just 20 days until the election, and a stark contrast between the Democratic and Republican parties is in clear focus, especially regarding the Latino vote, which is close to 15% of the electorate. Today, Trump took part in a Univision town hall in Florida, where the audience asked questions, and the former president, well, he did his best. When asked why he directed bipartisan border legislation to be abandoned, Trump instead slammed Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who had nothing to do with negotiations on that bill and isn't even a senator. Trump also refused to walk back his false and racist claims of migrants eating pets in Ohio. And when asked who will do the demanding and physically grueling jobs like farming if he deports 11 million people, Trump said this.
The other thing I can say is that a lot of the jobs that you have and that other people have are being taken by these people that are coming in. And the African-American population and the Hispanic population in particular are losing jobs now because millions of people are coming in.
Lots to unpack there. But to sum it up, just Google the word sundowning. The Harris campaign, on the completely other side, preempted Trump's weird outreach to Latinos by putting together a press conference with families who had been separated by Trump policies and are now reunited, reminding the public about one of the most controversial chapters of Trump's lone term in office and the human consequences of his zero-tolerance policy.
During the Trump administration in 2018, I suffered a lot of trauma. The emptiness that I felt when they told me that I wasn't going to be able to see my family again was something out of this world, and something that no kid should go through.
I don't want Donald Trump to be president again because I don't want other kids to go through what I did.
It is worth noting that when President Biden and Vice President Harris first took office, they rescinded the Trump-era zero-tolerance policy and established a family reunification task force, reuniting over 5,000 families, a figure that looks minuscule when you look at how Trump is talking about breaking up millions of families if elected or anointed.
I'm announcing today that upon taking office, we will have an Operation Aurora at the federal level to expedite the removals of these savage gangs. And I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. I can do it with an executive order. I'll have to do it with an executive order. You can do it with the Aliens Act of 1798. We can do things in terms of moving people out. We can move them out of the sanctuary cities.
Joining me now is Maria Teresa Kumar, President and CEO of Vote the Latino, MTK. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I first want to let you respond because I still do remember going to South Texas during the separation policy, and we were only allowed to see the kids.
We spent a lot of you and I spent a lot of time
together.
There, and we covered it. And so this is where what Trump is proposing is so dangerous for the very fabric of who we are as an American identity. Because one can say, well, he's only going to deport the people who don't belong here. But what he's trying to say is that it's a major dog whistle for every single person who's a white nativist to target all of us who is not white.
Yeah.
And that is such grave danger. I mean, Eisenhower did Operation Wetback, which basically deported 1 million Mexicans who included American citizens. Yeah. Under Trump, when he was doing all these roundouts, not just with family separation, but when he was his ICE agents were going to neighborhoods, there were American citizens that were caught in that dragnet. So this idea that he's only going to deport the folks that quote unquote aren't supposed to be here is not only unjust and hypocritical, but it is really encouraging a nativist agenda that is dangerous to the very fabric of our country and our economy.
I wonder if so my question has always been, the Latinos who support Trump, do they realize that? Because we just had Robbie Jones on, and I was just at Brookings looking through their annual survey, and the terrifying thing was the percentage of even Latinos, of people of color who are in favor of mass deportation and are saying, at least in polls, that they're in favor of camps, concentration camps. You guys just did a poll, a big poll of Latino voters. It shows Kamala Harris 62-37. Trump, that's pretty high for Trump. But do people in Europe, I'm sorry, 31 for Trump. When you're polling these Latinos, do they realize that Trump means them too?
So this is what's interesting. The reason ours polls varies from other folks is that we focus specifically on battleground states where we need people to win in order to win our democracy. And so it's 2,000 voters, and I can tell you that the folks that even have a marking of voting for Trump, it's the economy. It's not cultural at all. Even though the media likes to say it's cultural, everyone's like, no, I would like my check back.
Right.
They actually believe that he signed the check, and then we have to remind people.
And we're talking about the stimulus check.
The stimulus check. Sorry, it's like that was your money.
Right.
That was your taxes that the government basically gave back to you so you can pull through. I think the challenge, though, in the Latino community is having a frank conversation with folks who think that they present white, but the moment that you see a changing of the guard, that is not the case. In California, you're seeing a softening for democratic principles, and part is because they don't remember Pete Wilson. You know who remembers Pete Wilson? I remember Pete Wilson. I was politicized under Pete Wilson. You know who else? Vice President Kamala Harris. And I do wish that she would speak more about what it was like in California with the original Show Me Your Paper laws, because nobody was safe. And it was that moment that created mobilization among not just Latinos, but African Americans and Asian Americans. Yeah. Because all of a sudden we're like, wait a second, I remember our neighbors in Sonoma, who I love, who's completely progressive, basically denying a seat at the table for my grandmother. We went to the same restaurant every Sunday night.
Yeah.